Consumer Reports just dropped their 2026 motorcycle reliability data, and the results are uglier than the industry wants you to know. 6 bikes scored so poorly that owners are flooding forums with complaints, dealers are quietly slashing prices, and resale values are in freefall. Some of these are sitting in American garages right now. And the number one pick? It might be the most expensive mistake you can make this year. Number 6. Royal Enfield Super Meteor 650. On paper, the Super Meteor 650 looks like a legitimate American-style cruiser at a discount price. $7,000, retro styling, parallel twin, chrome everywhere. Sounds like a steal. Reality kicks in about 30 minutes into your first highway ride. That 648cc parallel twin makes around 47 horsepower. And on a bike that weighs 530 pounds wet, the math just doesn't work. Cruising at 75 on the interstate, this engine is screaming. Add a passenger and a tank bag, and you're hunting for downshifts on every mild incline. Honestly, I wanted to love this bike. The styling is gorgeous in person, but Royal Enfield built a cruiser that can barely cruise. The 4-gallon tank gets around 50 miles per gallon in the real world, which sounds fine until you realize that's 200 miles between fill-ups on a bike marketed for long American highways. Compare it to a Honda Rebel 500 at $3,000 less, and the Rebel feels more refined, vibrates less, and somehow makes its 47 horsepower feel adequate. Forum owners agree on one thing: the stock seat is brutal. 2 hours in, your tailbone is filing a formal complaint. Aftermarket seats run another $400, which Royal Enfield should have baked into the price. The MSRP sits at $6,999, but dealers across Texas and Florida are moving units at $5,800 with floor mats and a key fob to clear inventory. That should tell you everything about demand. The Super Meteor isn't a bad bike, it's a confused one. Royal Enfield tried to build an American cruiser using a sport bike engine, and the compromise shows in every mile. If you ride mostly under 60 miles per hour and never carry a passenger, you might love it. Everyone else? Look elsewhere. Number 5. Harley-Davidson Sportster S. This is the bike that has Harley loyalists writing angry letters to corporations and trading their machines back to dealers within 12 months. The Sportster S was supposed to modernize the entire line. Instead, it created a heat management nightmare nobody in Milwaukee wants to talk about. The Revolution Max 1250T engine produces 121 horsepower, which is genuinely impressive. The problem? The rear cylinder dumps heat directly onto the rider's right thigh and ankle. Riders have posted thermal camera footage showing exhaust shielding hitting 240 degrees Fahrenheit at idle. There's a class action discussion brewing on Reddit, and Harley's response has been disappointingly quiet. Beyond the heat, the ergonomics are puzzling. The forward controls force a stretched out riding position that works for a 6-foot rider and punishes anyone shorter. The fuel tank holds 3.1 gallons, which combined with around 45 miles per gallon, gives you a 130-mile range before you're hunting for a station. On a bike that costs $16,499, that's embarrassing. Owners on the HD forums report a specific list of complaints: no neutral indicator light, awkward low-speed handling from the 240-section rear tyre, and a starter motor that's failed on more than a few units past 8,000 miles. None of this is what you expect from a flagship model. Here's where it gets worse. Used Sportster S models from 2022 are now selling for $11,000. That's a $5,500 hit in 3 years on a Harley. Harleys are supposed to hold value. This one doesn't. For the same money, the Indian Scout 101 gives you 111 horsepower, similar styling, half the heat issues, and a brand that's actually winning on quality scores right now. Even die-hard Harley guys are starting to admit it. The Sportster S isn't a terrible motorcycle. It's just a bike that asks too many questions and answers none of them well. Harley needed a hero. They built a complicated mess instead. Number 4. BMW R18. 1,802 cubic centimeters. That's not a typo. The BMW R18 has the largest production boxer engine ever built, and it might be the most awkward motorcycle BMW has produced in decades. Picture this. You walk up to an R18 at the dealer. The engine is enormous. The chrome is gorgeous. The badge says BMW. You throw a leg over and immediately notice you're sitting practically on top of those massive cylinder heads. Your knees splay outward in a way that gets uncomfortable around the 90-minute mark. The bike weighs 761 pounds wet. That's not a cruiser, that's a small car. Low-speed maneuvering in parking lots becomes a workout, and the low-mounted exhaust will scrape pavement on anything beyond a gentle lean. BMW marketed this as a heritage cruiser to compete with Harley. What they actually built was a museum piece that happens to run. The engine produces 91 horsepower and 116 pound-feet of torque, which on paper sounds healthy. In practice, that's less power than a Harley Heritage Classic that costs $5,000 less. The R18 starts at $17,495 for the base model and quickly climbs past $24,000 once you add the transcontinental package most buyers actually want. Here's the part nobody mentions in reviews. Maintenance on an R18 requires BMW certified service, and that valve adjustment at 12,000 miles. Plan on $800 minimum. Compare that to a Harley M8 service interval, which any decent independent shop can handle for half the cost. The community feedback has been brutal. The R18 forums are full of riders who genuinely wanted to love this bike and ended up trading them after 18 months. Resale on a 2023 R18 has dropped about 35% already. If BMW had priced this at $13,000, we'd be having a different conversation. At $17,000 plus, it's competing with motorcycles that simply do the job better. The Indian Chief at $14,999 outperforms the R18 in almost every objective measure. Number 3. Triumph Rocket 3. You're at the gas pump. Again, you filled up 40 minutes ago. The reason? You're riding the most powerful production cruiser ever built, and it drinks fuel like a small block V8. The Triumph Rocket 3 is engineering insanity in the best and worst possible ways. A 2,458 cubic centimeters inline, triple producing 165 horsepower and 163 pound-feet of torque. The torque alone could pull a small house. But Triumph somehow managed to wrap this monster engine in a chassis that weighs 705 pounds and gets 28 to 32 miles per gallon in mixed riding. That's not a typo either, 28 to 32 miles per gallon. Combined with a 4.7-gallon tank, you're looking at a real-world range of about 135 miles before the fuel light starts blinking. On a touring-style cruiser priced at $24,000, that's a deal-breaker for anyone who actually wants to go places. The power delivery is genuinely intimidating. New riders should not even sit on a Rocket 3, let alone ride one. The throttle response in first gear can light up the rear tyre on dry pavement if you're not careful. There's no replacement for displacement, but there's also no replacement for common sense. Triumph dealers are sitting on inventory. Walk into any major dealership in California or Arizona, and you'll find Rocket 3s with discounts approaching $3,500 off MSRP. Why? Because the bike makes sense to about 2% of the cruiser market. Everyone else looks at the price, looks at the fuel economy, and walks across the showroom to the Bonneville section. The maintenance intervals are also expensive. A 10,000-mile service on a Rocket 3 runs about $700 at most dealers because the engine geometry makes everything harder to access. The shaft drive is reliable, but the rear tyre wears out around 6,000 miles thanks to that monster torque. Here's my honest take. The Rocket 3 is the kind of bike you should rent for a weekend, not own for a decade. Spectacular engineering, terrible practicality. The Indian Challenger does cruising better at every price point. Number 2. Ducati Diavel V4. The Ducati Diavel V4 looks incredible in the showroom and breaks your bank account in the garage. At $26,695, Ducati is asking flagship money for a bike that combines the worst ownership costs in modern motorcycling with depreciation that would embarrass a luxury sedan. The 1,158 cubic centimeters V4 Gran Turismo engine produces 168 horsepower and 93 pound-feet of torque. On paper, that's spectacular. In real-world riding, the power delivery is genuinely violent below 4,000 revolutions per minute. The seat height punishes shorter riders, and the 520-pound wet weight makes low-speed maneuvering feel like wrestling a refrigerator. Ducati designed this as a power cruiser. It rides more like an angry sport bike in a cruiser costume. Here's where the math gets ugly. Ducati's desmodromic valve service is required every 18,000 miles and runs $1,400 to $1,800 at most American dealers. The wet and dry hybrid clutch wears faster than typical clutches. Replacements average $1,500 with labor. The Fat 240 section rear tire wears out around 5,500 miles thanks to that V4 torque, and replacements cost $400 plus. The depreciation is the real nightmare. A 2023 Diavel 5.4 that sold for $25,000 new is now trading at $16,500 used. That's a 34% loss in 36 months on a bike Ducati positioned as a long-term flagship. Forum complaints are remarkably consistent. Heat off the rear cylinder cooks your right thigh in stop-and-go traffic. The electronics throw cryptic error codes requiring dealer-only diagnostics, and parts outside major metros take 2 to 3 weeks. Compare it to an Indian FTRR Carbon at $19,000. Similar attitude, half the maintenance cost, dealers in nearly every state. The Diavel V4 is gorgeous engineering wrapped in a financial trap. Number 1. Harley-Davidson LiveWire S2 Del Mar. Here's the most expensive mistake you can make in 2026. The LiveWire S2 Del Mar costs $17,500. 2 years ago, it was $22,000. 3 years ago, it was $30,000. And there's a very specific reason Harley keeps slashing the price. Nobody wants this thing. The Del Mar is electric, producing about 84 horsepower from a battery pack that delivers a real-world highway range of around 70 miles. Yes, you read that correctly. 70 miles before you're scrambling for a charger that probably doesn't exist on most American highways. The advertised range is 110 miles, but that's calculated under city-only conditions at 35 miles per hour. For a bike that wears the Harley-Davidson name on its tank, the brand identity confusion is staggering. Harley owners want sound, vibration, and the ritual of a V-twin. Electric riders want range, technology, and progressive design. The Del Mar appeals to neither group. It's an electric motorcycle for people who don't want an electric motorcycle. The depreciation is the real horror story. A 2023 LiveWire S2 Del Mar that sold for $22,000 new is now trading hands at $11,500 on the used market. That's a 47% loss in 24 months. No motorcycle in the modern era has lost value that fast. Buyers who financed at MSRP are upside down on their loans by thousands of dollars. The community response has been merciless. The LiveWire forums have more posts about selling these bikes than riding them. Dealers across the country have unsold 2024 inventory, still on the floor in 2026. Harley reportedly considered killing the LiveWire sub-brand entirely last year. If you genuinely want an electric motorcycle, lease one. Never buy. The technology is moving too fast and the values are dropping faster. The Del Mar isn't a bad motorcycle in isolation. It's just the worst financial decision in the entire 2026 lineup. So there it is. 6 motorcycles that scored at the bottom of Consumer Reports' 2026 reliability and value rankings. If I had to pick just one to actually avoid with my own money, it's the LiveWire S2 Del Mar. The depreciation alone makes it a financial trap, regardless of how the bike actually rides. The Sportster S is a close second purely because of those heat issues nobody at Harley wants to address. Here's the thing, every bike on this list has owners who love them. That's fine, but love and value are two different conversations. Which of these are you riding right now? Or which one were you about to buy? Drop it in the comments. I read them all. And if this saved you from a bad purchase, hit subscribe. More honest motorcycle breakdowns coming every week.